Tonight on Talk Show with RJ Sheedy. That Milford Show host Al Correia. Plus, RJ looks at some stupid test answers. Now, from the very top of Milford High, this is RJ Sheedy.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Talk Show. I am your host, TV's RJ Sheedy. I got a great show for you all tonight. Tonight we got That Milford Show host Al Correia. He's been doing his show forever. He's a Milford legend. This is going to be a fun interview with him. And plus we'll be going through some stupid test answers. Right now I want to go through some, I pulled some of these offline. There's a book on them. I found these online. I think they're pretty funny. I wanted to go through some of them with you guys tonight. So right now I want to go through some stupid test answers. Okay. Draw a plant on its most important parts. You got no windows and iron bars. Look how sad that little flower looks. How depressing is that? What happens to a boy during puberty? Simply, he says goodbye to his childhood and he enters adultery. Oh. Powerful aftershocks rocked the city. Fires burned out of control. Streets were full of debris and ruined buildings. At least 30 people were injured. What type of natural disaster is being described in this report? The end of American Idol. Thanks. Oh, this one might upset some people. Highest frequency noise a human being can register. First he said Justin Bieber, then changed his mind to Mariah Carey. Mr. Medical might be able to tell us what this actually means. What does terminal illness mean? When he becomes ill at an airport? I don't think so. I don't think so. Explain the phrase free press. When your mom irons trousers for you. This is a smart answer. Where was the Declaration of Independence signed? At the bottom. That's a smart one. With this one, I don't know if the teacher's response is better or the kid's answer. We'll find out. Why are there rings on Saturn? Because God liked it, so he put a ring on it. And here's what here's what the teacher said. Saturn was not a single lady. Good try, though. Oh, this one's kind of sad. This one's sad. The first cells were probably lonely. Oh, how sad. Steve is driving his car. He travels 60 feet per second, and the speed limit is 40 miles per hour. Is Steve speeding? He could find out by checking his speedometer. That's easy. Why do math on that when you got a speedometer right there? What do we call this? The science of classifying living things? Racism? I don't think so. No. When a child swallows a cleaning product, why is milk often given? To make them happy before they die? What? Maybe if it was served with milk and cookies, that would make them happy, but I don't know, just milk itself. Why do some researchers believe that living close to a cell phone tower might cause poor health? Maybe because you might walk into it. I don't know. Okay, with this one, I'm not even sure why letter A is an option. Scientists believe that blank is really just the tip of a supervolcano that is overdue to erupt. Letter A is Gary Busey, and that's what the kid chose. Why? Obviously, no stupid test answer bit would be complete without this very funny classic one. Find X. Here it is. He just circles X. How clever. That was stupid test answers. Okay, right now, I just want to jump right into this next interview. My next guest is the, let's say, critically acclaimed host of That Milford Show. He's been hosting his show forever. He's about to approach his 200th episode this summer. Everyone, this is Al Correia. How you doing? Nice to see you.
So, does that just mean I'm old?
Does that mean you're old?
I've been doing the show for
Why would I ever say you're old, Al?
Let's see, forever. That means when we first started, the shows were chiseled out and shown. Then they invented electricity and it made it easier to tape the shows.
You're right. That's pretty easy. So let's just jump right into this conversation. When you were in high school, I thought this was pretty funny when you told me this. When you were in high school, apparently your principal picked you up every single morning. Why? That would be kind of creepy if a principal picked me up every morning.
Yeah, we kind of, we had an ongoing debate. Back then, the town was pretty small. We had the Heights. And somehow he associated the days I was not in school with many of my friends also not being in school. And
now, why weren't your friends in school, Al?
We claimed it was a coincidence. He thought that by picking me up, we eliminated the place that everybody thought, or he eliminated the place everybody thought that the kids were going to. So every morning, he would pick me up and drive me to school.
Every morning?
Every blessed morning. It made it very difficult to not be on time or to miss a day of school.
Now, he would pick you up every morning. Would he pick up your friends too, or would they just go to school because they had no place to go?
That was his assertion, and unfortunately the data sort of played out on his side. Of course, the problem was a lot of the kids who went to school back 70 to 74, remember I had a dog.
Right.
Dog's name was Tuggy. To this day, I still have a report card, because back then they just gave up on him, because he would come to school every day, and he would go to every class. He would just walk in.
The dog.
The dog. Tuggy would make a circle. Everybody knew him. So many people knew him by different names, and literally just lay in front of the class. And
really?
He'd be in class, every class.
Was that a distraction, or?
I don't know, we all got used to it. Tuggy was always there. Of course, high school got really confusing, because at that point, what ends up happening is we go to the lunch mods. So the dog had this Pavlovian response that every time the bell would ring, he knew it was a new class. He would get up, walk out.
This dog was pretty good trained.
Yeah, he trained himself, because I certainly didn't train him, but he would go to my next class. We got to high school where they had 5 mods for lunch, and the bells would ring. The dog would get up, go to the door, look at us like, okay, do I have to teach all of you kids? The bell has rung. You're supposed to get up and go to your next class.
Right. So that kind of confused him, I guess.
Yeah, and it was really confusing because all the teachers just bought on. And I still have a report card that was issued at the end of the year to the dog.
To the dog.
For perfect attendance.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and if you ever skipped a class, you were busted, because the dang dog would go to class. And it's really hard to explain that, okay, yeah, I was doing something, but the dog wasn't with me. So
that's
now,
funny.
Yeah, all of a sudden you had no choice but to go to every class.
Now, I'm pretty sure, you might have told me this once maybe, the athletic director at your school just was out to get you.
Well, God bless him, he didn't like hockey. Back then, there was a big rivalry between the Bruins and the Canadians, the years of the big bad Bruins. Now you have to understand, we grew up in the old schools that you don't even know exist. When I moved back to Milford after being away, I got a complex, because the first school I went to was the West Street School. It's now an empty grass lot. Then I moved to the Oliver Street School. It's now apartments. Okay,
nothing there anymore.
From Oliver, we all went to Spruce Street School. That's now the town library. And then you made that big walk. For a Milford kid, there were trauma sections where you're 6th grader, you're in the Spruce Street School where the library is, you're safe, because across the street are those big kids.
Oh
and
boy.
We've all gone through it.
That must have been scary for you.
And then all of a sudden, the end of 6th grade, you have to walk across the street to Stacy into this huge building with all those big kids. So we lived through 7th and 8th grade, and the teachers there were wonderful. I mean, I still don't know how Anne-Marie Longo, my French teacher, remembered that back 100 years ago when I was in that school, she was teaching French, and I looked at her and I said, I don't understand why I'm learning French. I will never use this silly language.
Right. I'm going through that right now. I'm in Portuguese and I'm like, why?
Oh, see, Portuguese makes sense. That's social climbing, you're doing good. Keep learning Portuguese. But we had this argument about, why do I need French? I will never use it. Yes, when I met her as I moved back, she says, just out of curiosity, remember when you told me you would never use French?
Did you use it?
She goes, where were you living for the last few years? I said, Paris. So I spent 4 years living in Paris, and she remembered. I mean, the teachers were characters back then. They were wonderful. Then, 8th grade. So you've had 2 years. You're now the big kids.
Right. That's always fun.
Safe.
That's fun to be the big kids. I love that.
Now all of a sudden you got this schoolyard. Because back then the high school was like 20 feet or 20 yards away from Stacy. So now you got to walk across into the old high school. And now you're with all the big kids. Trauma. I mean, back then it was bad enough that you had to go deal with the big kids, but some of your friends, like the girls, were getting thrown out of school because they wore pants.
What? Wait a minute, what?
Yes.
Girls show up to school in leggings now. They don't do anything. They got thrown out for wearing pants?
They showed up in pants.
What's the big deal? I don't get it.
There's a lot of things that have changed. Back then, we didn't get it either. But by junior year, I think it was, they were wearing those, I can't remember what they called them. They were like short shorts or mini dresses. They were mini skirts. And they had the hot pants and the mini skirts, because we all thought that was really cool. It's funny how your perspective changes. Living in the estrogen palace now, we don't like those short things. Yeah, very bad. I thought the Victorian era should come back. Turtlenecks and long dresses all of a sudden became very, very appealing to me when I had daughters. But back then, the short shorts and the mini skirts caused havoc, that girls were being sent home.
That's crazy.
You know, and today, you know, if you ever think about a young lady showing up in pants, jeans, God forbid.
That's an atrocity.
If they
Oh
showed
my
up
God.
in jeans, they would be flogged. You know, that was not heard of. But
Guys wear jeans?
Hmm?
Do guys wear jeans, or were you guys
guys
still
could
wearing
wear
slacks?
jeans. Nobody cared what guys wore.
Okay.
Nobody cared. So we went through this whole transition as you just get accustomed to the high school. Mm-hmm. And then they tell us we're moving to a new high school.
Ooh.
Which is the high school you're in.
Oh no, the prison.
Not prison. This was nirvana. They had technology that we couldn't believe. Each room had a phone.
Wow. Whoa, wait, a phone?
A phone, a little rotary.
Really?
See, it was this new technology where they had little dials, and you dialed a number, and you could call room to room when nobody was looking.
I am so fascinated. Tell me more, Al, about the great technologies at Milford High.
And then we went into, we walk into the media center.
Uh-huh.
And they actually had a board, and you could put 12 cassettes in the board, only for academic books. Now, the rumor was that Channel 12 had a lot of Aerosmith on there.
Uh-huh.
And it did for a long time until somebody broke my tape. But whenever any of the teachers came by, there was always at least 10 books on tape playing.
Uh-huh.
And they were all proud that everybody out there's listening to them. And you'd always kind of have your hand down on Channel 12 hiding that cassette. You know, local boy Joe Perry's playing, you know, we don't want, no, they're all listening to the books.
Right.
What an academic, what a studious bunch we were. So that was new technology. You could walk around with wireless technology. Wow. And when nobody was looking, you could we didn't know why we were calling each other. It wasn't like, you know, my daughters, where they have this surgically implanted technology called the cell phone. We just thought it was cool that there was a phone in every room.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So you'd call each other. Didn't know what the heck we were going to say to each other.
Uh-huh.
Actually, that's now your generation. I don't think my daughter can talk to people.
Will we just text?
They just text. They sit at the
'Cause
same
it's
table.
easier.
Yeah, but there's this vocal skill called communication. You know, you're allowed to talk to other kids.
You're right. But I don't know, maybe it's just our generation that I'm growing up in, but I find it easier to text someone than to take 5 seconds out of my day and pick up a phone and call someone. Because
Yeah.
I'm just so busy, sometimes I don't even get a chance to call back my grandmother when she's called me, like, 4 or 5 times, which is kind of embarrassing, but You know, I just don't.
Grandmothers can't embarrass. Only fathers have the right to embarrass. You can never say your grandmother embarrassed you.
No. I'm embarrassed because I can't call her back because I don't have any time. I mean, if she could text me, that would be so much easier, but.
Now, let me think. You have time to text 500 times a day, but you don't have time to call grandma for 30 seconds
Okay,
and
maybe
say,
I'm
I
just
love
making
you.
stuff up.
You lose.
Maybe I'm just making stuff up.
See, the other thing is there's this other technology that too many times we find rusted. Analog technology called a pen. See, if you apply this to paper and you move your hand, you actually make little squiggles.
Really? What are these squiggles called?
Writing. And you can actually then put lots of little squiggles together and you get what's called a book. And in the old days, of course, when I was young, it was stone tablets, I understand. But in the old days, people read books.
Wow. Books.
Books.
What a thing, books.
Yes. They still exist if you look hard enough. You know, so we get into the high school, and all of a sudden you've got all this new technology in this brand new building.
Mm-hmm.
And all the new fields. You know, we just went through a major renovation a few years ago, putting turf fields down.
Right, that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, when you look at the impression of somebody coming to Milford now versus when they came when the field was all mud and yuck, it's worth the money. But you know, you start thinking through it, and all the sports teams got together, and of course, getting back to the original question,
Mr. Athletic Director who wanted to get
Mr.
you busted.
Athletic Director went out and bought the hockey team new uniforms. So, you know, we're Milford High.
These are
Red
uniforms.
and white.
Right.
So we're assuming, you know, back then there were only a few hockey teams. So Detroit Red Wings had red and white. Okay, so we're thinking we're going to get Detroit Red Wings uniforms. When they came in, we swore he was out to just kill us. He gave us Canadians uniforms.
Whoa.
Now, we hated it's kind of, you know, when you look at the rivalries, if you can imagine being in Milford High baseball team and somebody shows up and hands you a Yankees uniform.
Nah, that's going to be a riot. That's going to be a riot.
That was the problem we had with the Canadians uniforms. You could put a Milford High Hawk on it, but it still screamed Montreal.
Yeah, you can, no.
Yeah, we skated the season with the Montreal Canadiens uniforms. It was the worst feeling in the world. You could feel your skin crawl.
That's not cool. No Milford High player should ever have to wear a Canadian uniform.
We had a hockey rink in Milford back then.
Right.
You know, Pins, before it was the entertainment center, before it was the roller rink, it was actually a hockey arena. So we could go down there and practice.
Cool.
Of course, the coolest thing, going way back, was you couldn't get ice time at reasonable hours. So on the weekends, you played at 1, 2 in the morning. At the end of a game, you know, when we were that age, you could actually, there was no such thing as carbohydrates. It was just food. We didn't worry about overloading on, you know, those bad carbohydrates. So Mazzarelli's Bakery, down at the end of Central Street, was a mile away. And we learned quickly that it took 2 rotations to cook the bread. Well, you take linguiça down there, you catch it on the first rotation, slice the linguiça, put it in there, and put it through again, came out the most wonderful sandwich. Now, of course, you're eating something yay big. Oh my God. Your stomach, you could just feel the bread just swelling up and making you sick. It tasted great, but we were dying. And then, of course, that was always the greatest excuse, because if you wanted to go late at night, just threw your hockey bag in the car. Because you're playing 5 nights a week, you know, nobody ever bothered you. It wasn't like your parents asking you, where are you going?
Where are you? What time are you going to be home?
Yeah, what time are you going to be home? 2 o'clock. Why? Because I'm playing hockey. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So,
right.
Yes, there was a lot of fun. We learned about, back then, in the high school they had a rule. Mr. Tremblay's too smart for this, I would bet.
What's the rule?
The rule was if you wanted to have announcements made, you had to be a club.
Right.
So we took the honored tradition of keeping the Milford High Sewing Club going.
Uh-huh.
And every Thursday night, it would be announced that the sewing club would be meeting at a place, student's house, called U.E. Turner.
And what was actually U.E. Turner?
It's the U-turn up at the end of Congress Street.
What happened up there? What was that all about?
Academic activity. We got together as a study group. Yes.
What
or
a liar.
when we couldn't go to U.E. Turner's, you always had Eddie Grover's, which was the Grove down by Water Street. It's always fun when you talk to people, because you can tell if they're old Milfordians. Because if you say the U-turn and you get a blank look, you know they weren't from Milford. They've moved here. You know, they could be, you know, immigrants, foreigners from like Framingham or Natick, you know, all the way out there.
Didn't know what
But
U-turn is.
everybody, you'd get many a young person blush when you say, oh, I remember the U-turn, because they read a lot of books there.
Right.
A lot of books. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this question again. What really happened down there?
Academic activity. You know, many of us were chemists.
Right.
And we were trying to study, and we learned about the zero order removal of compounds like ethanol from your body. So you would have to run a test. You would ingest liquids that contained ethanol, and then you could time how long it took the body to remove that ethanol from your system. So it's pure academic activities. Those were legitimate chemistry studies. You know, and depending on the person, we wanted to know if adding different flavors, you know, so you'd buy brandies to see if adding flavors would affect how quickly your body could remove the alcohol.
Right.
Pure academic activity. See, a lot of us started as chemists in Milford.
Cool.
So that was the story of the Milford High hockey team back then, getting their Canadians uniforms.
Right.
We always thought they had it out for us, just for that fact. So that was life in Milford when we were kids your
Pretty
age.
impressive.
We were the first actual class of 74 was the first class that graduated Milford High.
That's an honor right there.
It's an honor right there. We moved in almost the middle of the year. So
That's pretty cool. Now you got daughters of your own right now, and a lot of them just went through a lot of what high school students are going through right now. Apparently you had a really tough time finding one of your daughters their first car.
oh God. You see, you gotta, life in the estrogen palace is never boring. You know, I mean, when you think about it, like every normal Milford kid, the first thing I wanted to do when I graduated was run away from Milford. So, ran off to school in Worcester, then went to Paris, ran over the world, but the gravitational pull of this town. Something special about the center of the universe here, Milford. You know, no matter what we say, no matter how much we make fun of it, when it came down to having a family, this is the place that we wanted to be.
True.
You know, so we brought my daughters into the world here.
Good place to grow up too. Nothing
Great
wrong with
place.
Milford.
I mean, you end up knowing everybody. I mean, her first car, we went through the trauma. And this was an educational process for me.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, you
Because
bought cars before. How is this educational?
Well, but when I looked at a car, I never knew that cars had bums. Yes,
Bum?
my daughter looked at the car and said, oh, I don't like that. It's got a big bum.
What's a bum?
The trunk. Somehow,
trunk?
the way it was angled was too big. So she just didn't like that. And then she looked at another car and said, that's got too big of a mouth. I'm looking.
The front?
The front. It had a big grill. Shook my head because it was very simple. Being a scientist many years ago, I was a chemist once, as I've been told. Back then, when I studied, I think there were 3 elements on the periodic table. You know, there was earth, wind, there was fire, and they weren't a singing group yet. But I went to Consumer Reports, and looked at what is the safest car to buy your child, figuring that's a good place to start. Then I learned that my oldest daughter would have nothing to do with what she called a named car.
What in the world is a name car?
That's what I said. Well, BMW, Mercedes.
Oh, so that's a rich people term.
I don't know what it is, but it's not
Name
rich
car.
people. I'm not rich. I'm married with children. By definition, you can't be rich if you're married with children. You know, I get my $2 a day to buy my cup of coffee. I'm a happy man. You know, it's simple. But we started looking at every blessed car in the world. She finally settled on a Toyota. Now, you think
It'd
that
be
it
easy
would
to find a Toyota.
Yes. But again, now you're dealing with my daughter who says, oh, I want the Toyota, but I want the Celica. I want a 6-speed. I want black interior. I want, you know, she's got this list of criteria. And I don't like the new models with the big bums and the big mouths. So you're sitting there in front of a sales rep. And he's looking at you saying, oh, I got you. I got you. Because he tells me that, no, you can't pick all these little items if you're buying the car she wants. Because they stopped making the long, slim nose, short tail cars 2 years ago. So find me a 2-year-old car that's silver with black interior with. The man tried explaining to me that he can't do that. And I'll never forget, it was the Framingham dealer, and I said, well, the guy in Westboro seems to think he can. And I'll tell you what, if you can't do it, that's okay. But the guy who does that, I'm going to write a check for the car.
Okay.
It's funny how the next day he called me and said, what a miracle. There's one car on the whole East Coast that has silver paint with black interior with. Aren't I lucky? Now, what do you think happens to your bargaining position? You know when you negotiate with a sales guy for a car?
Right.
When he knows he's found the absolute perfect car.
You're in trouble. Your wallet's in trouble.
Done. There's no negotiation. He says, here's the price. If you want it, take it. So we learned how to pick cars. And to her credit, she kept the car for 10 years, a little 6-speed.
Nice.
Of course, took her a while to figure out why I got her own special license plates. It's nice to have Lexi C. When she had graduated, she says, you know, I figured out why you got me those plates. It's really hard for this car to be anywhere that somebody you know doesn't see it.
Oh.
And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. It was pure coincidence.
True.
Yes, that
true,
was
right.
That was the first car. And by the way, with daughters, it doesn't get better.
No?
No, because when my youngest turned 16, she decided she knew what car she wanted. She wanted a fancy Toyota. End of story. My darling bride brought objections to the fact that as her first car, she did not need a fancy Toyota. So we agreed we'd buy a used one. She's 16 years old. She can live with a used car. We went to the dealer, and the price, we learned you buy cars in August when they're trying to get rid of the old models.
Correct.
The price between an old one and a new one wasn't that much of a difference. The guy at the Lexus dealer really wanted to get rid of this Lexus. And of course, Emily knew exactly she wanted an IS 250. She didn't want any other car. So we bought it. Now we drive it home. My darling bride doesn't trust me all the time.
Why not?
Well, she came out and said, it looks new to me. I said, it's used. She goes, what do you mean used? I said, it's a used car. She goes, looks pretty new to me. I said, no, it's used. She wouldn't stop. She went and checked the odometer. She says, it's got 50 miles on the odometer. I said, see, it's used. Of course, she looks and says, it's 35 miles from the dealer. I said, you're proving my point. Somebody drove this car 15 miles before we did. Therefore, it's used. And I'll stick to my story.
I love the excuse. I love it.
Yes,
I
some
love
things
it.
never change.
Now, what about your daughter's college application? She worked the system really well to get into college she absolutely knew she wanted to get into.
The youngest daughter decided, just like her car, she decided she wanted to go to Holy Cross.
Now, this is Miss Emily.
This is Miss
Miss
Emily.
Emily, okay.
Miss Emily wanted to go to Holy Cross. She only applied to Holy Cross. My heart stops. Luckily, it was early decision. So if she didn't get in, we still had a chance to apply other places. But you sit there and say, okay, how are my nerves going to deal with the fact that she's only applying to one place? And she doesn't want to go to any other school. To her, she just said, I'm going to Holy Cross. It's like, well, you know, there's 9 people going for every chair in the freshman class. Mm-hmm. She goes, yeah, but I'll be one of them. And I was kind of like, oh my God, if she doesn't get into Holy Cross, I don't know what we're going to do. She came home one night and she said, Dad, your old chemistry teacher. I said, yes, this was junior year, end of spring. She goes, he's not teaching anymore, is he? And I said, no, he's now the provost. He runs the school. She goes, well, that's the guy we had dinner with at your reunion. I said, yeah. She goes, can I have his email? I want to, and she emailed him and said it's summertime. She'd like to book an hour with him.
An hour?
Yeah, she sent him a note. I want to book an hour to learn about Holy Cross and why she should come there. I was amazed. After the interview, I asked her, and she said, it went pretty well. And I said, okay, anything come of it? She goes, well, actually, we're going to be taping a TV show about Holy Cross.
On your show?
Well, I didn't know that.
Oh,
I said, what do you mean we? And she said, well, Dr. Velaccio asked me, how do I get more kids from Milford interested in going to Holy Cross? So she comes out and says, well, people always want to learn. If you were to come to Milford and tape a show, spend a half hour teaching people how to apply to college, because that's always of interest.
Right.
And then spend the other half hour talking about Holy Cross. People will watch and they'll learn, and a lot of kids will learn about Holy Cross and want to come. So he asked her, how do I get an hour TV show in Milford? She goes, oh, I know where somebody keeps the schedule. And sure enough, the good Dr. Tremblay got bounced one day.
Dr. Tremblay got bounced?
Yes. I had him on, like I do every quarter, to do an education update. She said, education, great. She moved him and put in Holy Cross.
Whoa. Did you know this? Did you know this was happening?
No.
No.
I found out after. And then I looked, and I said, you know, Assistant Dean of Admissions. You invited the Assistant Dean of Admissions. Kind of surprised me.
Uh-huh.
And she goes, yeah, I've been meaning to ask you about that too. I said, what's that? The gal you went to school with, Annie Bowe. I said, yes. Is that Annie Bowe McDermott? I said, that'd be her. Dean of Admissions. She goes, can I have her email too? And she emailed the Dean of Admissions and said she wanted to spend some time over the summer with her. And then she asked about a good Holy Cross boy, Francis Larkin, and she wanted to meet Judge Larkin because he knew people on the admissions board. So she says, I think I got my 4 votes. She had figured out how many votes she needed.
Nice.
And I'll never forget, that week was talk about tension level. Grades came out Tuesday, 2 o'clock, right. The end of the day, first Tuesday of November. She emailed them in Tuesday, so every day she's looking in the mail. Well, it's been a day, it's been 2 days. Friday morning we got the phone call, which was from Jim Richardson, the associate dean. Scared the living heck out of me. When he calls, he says, Al, I'm trying to reach Emily. We have a question about her application. Oh, my heart is going. It can't be good. If you're asking about her application, something isn't right here.
Right.
I gave him her cell phone, and I'm sitting there for 35 minutes. She's off celebrating with her mother. He was calling to say congratulations. And then 30 minutes or 35 minutes later, she remembers that maybe Dad would like to know that she got into Holy Cross. I'm pacing.
She didn't even tell you.
No, she waited 35 minutes. She tortured me.
Perfect.
And she got in. It was the longest 3 days of our lives. Thank God. I don't know what we'd do if she hadn't gotten into Holy Cross. But, you know, again, for the kids out there, take the initiative. You want to differentiate yourself. What she did was she figured a way of getting to, because if she had just gone to Holy Cross, the admissions group, she would have gotten an interview from an intern, you know, a student. She went above and beyond and hit the key people. And guess what?
Totally worked the system perfectly.
She got in.
Perfect. How perfect. Now, I'm being told I only got 3 minutes left with you today because apparently an hour just somehow flew by. I don't know what happened. But I think it's time for 5 questions. What do you say?
There you go.
You want to do it?
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Is this like that stupid animal tricks thing? No?
No. Let's.
Okay.
You'll find out. It's 5 questions time. Great. We always start with geography. Where's the center of the universe?
Oh, everybody knows that, Milford.
Perfect.
Actually, only 28,000 people know that. 6 billion need to be educated.
Yeah, you gotta find this out quickly. This is what I like to call a match game. I like to say this is an Al Correia quote. Blank house.
White House.
No, try again.
My house.
It's an Al Correia quote. You just said like 10 minutes ago.
No, I said the Estrogen Palace.
There you go. Perfect.
That's not a house.
Right. I need you to do this for me. In that camera over there, look in there and do a raspberry for us.
You mean a RJ cheer, like when we go.
Perfect.
So when we practiced the applause sign, Liz took down the applause sign because we were going to give you the raspberries. No, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Do the raspberry again.
I did it once. That's enough.
Okay. Too bad.
There's 1 raspberry per old man.
All right. I'm thinking of a college for Al Correia. Which college is it?
It has to be Holy Cross.
There you go. Finally, it's a tradition for us. Go to eat after one of your shows. Where
no,
would
it's
we
a
go?
tradition for you because when we show up, the first thing, it's like a little baby bird. What's for dinner? What's for dinner?
Where would we go out to eat tonight?
Where will we go out to eat?
Where would
tonight?
we, if we were actually eating potatoes?
Lynn Garden, the Chinese, or we'd go next door to D'Angelo's, or we'd go and have pizza brought in from Papa Gino's.
With the cinnamon sticks.
Oh God,
the
you and your
cinnamon sticks.
Yes, can't not have food without cinnamon sticks.
Can't do that.
How does your mother cook? Does she make cinnamon sticks every night?
Oh boy, I wished. Perfect. How did that hour just fly by, Al? I don't know what happened.
I don't think they can count. They must not be from Milford.
No, that just proves that they went to Milford High.
That they can't count?
Yeah, they went to Milford High, so they can't.
Shame on you.
Anyways, I guess that's it. That's our show tonight. I want to apologize, Mr. Mike Tempest. Couldn't make it tonight, but we'll have him on another show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.